lancer le stream. On a dit bon, Jonathan?
So we are good to go.
Sounds good. All right. All right. Jonathan, si tu peux, tous mes boutons sont blancs. But
I think he's saying like all the buttons are blank, so he knows who's who.
Bonsoir tout le monde.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first meeting of 2024. I'm taking the opportunity to wish you a very happy new year. A few technical problems, but I think it's working now. So, first, I would like to recognize that we're gathering on the unceded traditional or the Mi'kmaq people. Mr. Clerk, we do have quorum this evening. Everyone is here. There's one council member who is online.
Oh, there we go. Ça fonctionne.
Conflict of interest declaration. Any council members would like to declare a conflict of interest on the items on this evening agenda. Council item 15.1. Thank you. So then you'll leave the room when we're at for a few minutes. Perfect. Number 4, adoption of the agenda. So you have the agenda in front of you. I would need a motion to adopt like the agenda as presented, moved by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Appui.
Que l'agenda soit adopté tel que présenté.
That the agenda be adopted as presented. All those in favor saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Thank you. We have 3 minutes this evening. The first one for November 27th, 4th, December 4th, and December 18th. So I would need a motion for each of them. So for the minutes for November 27th, I thought I would see 2. I would need like a motion moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Joël Desbré to adopt the minutes of November 27th. All in favor saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Thank you. Second minutes, the one for the regular meeting held on December 4th, moved by Councillor Germaine Galland, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. Questions, any errors, omissions, corrections? If not, all in favor saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Thank you. The last one, minutes from the special meeting held on December 18th. Once again, I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Roland Cormier, seconded by Emile O'Brien. Questions, corrections? If not, all in favor saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Thank you very much. That's for the regular items. This evening, we have a presentation from Habitat for Humanities. So this one here is for New Brunswick. These are 2 guys, Perry Kendall and Mr. Perry Candy. It's of a proposed project on a land where we already have many discussion. Mr. Kendall.
Your microphone's on.
Okay, is there
just a second?
Oh, okay, thank you.
I think you had I know you had a presentation. I got it here, but
yeah, we're gonna load it.
There we go. Sinon les flèches. Sounds good.
Thank you very much. This is
The middle.
middle one. All right. Thank you.
Go back. Go back. You can-
Fine.
Okay. Well, Mayor Casey.
You can actually raise up the
Oh,
there's a button there.
real fancy. Okay.
Oh yeah,
I'll even do that. Thanks.
yeah. Hey. You don't have to bend over as much to read your notes. Well, that helps.
All right. So, thank you so much, Mayor Casey and the Shediac Town Council. Just thrilled to be here this evening. And so I am Perry Kendall, Cameron Purdy, my colleague, our Director of Safety and Strategic Partnerships is here with me as well. And it's this has been a great journey, and great to be looking across at Victor Boudreau as well, who's been with us along this journey. So perfect. Okay. So Habitat for Humanity, I'll just, and I will be respectful of the time that's been provided, but there's a few key points. Some of the presentation, I won't get into the details, but it's there for you to refer to if interested. But we do bring communities together to help families build strength and stability through affordable home ownership. There is truly, and it's never been in my recollection, such a crisis as we have now for affordable housing across New Brunswick and certainly across Canada. And far, far too many people do not have access to safe, decent, and affordable housing. Our model of affordable home ownership bridges the gap for people providing working families with lower incomes the opportunity to purchase their own habitat home. Maybe not. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So the King Street development, I know that there's probably been discussions about this particular lot around this table a few times, as we appreciate the fact that there has been a building removed and some remediation work completed, and that is certainly very much appreciated. But as far as this, the project that Habitat for Humanity is looking to do, some of the key features include the fact that this location certainly fits exceptionally well. We were just touring the neighborhood before we arrived here this evening, and it's a wonderful family neighborhood, close to schools, parks, employers, and amenities that families would need. Some of the key features of the Habitat model, it includes no down payment, one of the single biggest barriers for families in lower income situations to transition to home ownership. There is low interest, payments are geared to income, and at no point will families ever be paying more than 25% of their gross income towards housing, which includes both their mortgage payments and property taxes. Families will be building equity and certainly have pride of home ownership. Homes will remain in affordable home ownership for 20 plus years, as Habitat will hold the right of first refusal on that mortgage. So if the family was ever to leave for any reason, Habitat would retain that home and find a new family to occupy that home through our model. We do have commitments from the provincial government, from the federal government through CMHC, and pending, of course, the commitments this evening, or hopefully this evening, on this development. We currently have over 85 families in homes today throughout New Brunswick, and we have plans for 14 or more homes in 2024, including this development. Can pop to the next one would be great. So So the concept of this home, a couple of pictures on the screen. So all homes do include, and this is really important, our focus on affordable home ownership goes far beyond the initial construction. It's about building homes that truly are affordable for the long term. All of the homes that we are building are 50% or more above building code as far as insulation, air sealing. We use all triple glazed windows, doors, long life building materials and finishes, because we want to make sure that home stays affordable while that family lives there. A few of the other key features: private entrances, decks. Each home will have 3 bedrooms with a full basement. So we do have the flexibility, if it is a larger family, to add 2 additional bedrooms in the basement. And we could add a second bathroom as well. So skipping to the next one. So as far as the timeline, pending council approval this evening, hopefully, we hope to have families in these homes and doing home dedication events by the end of August. As far as the role of the municipality, you've already certainly completed one item and doing that cleanup and land remediation, hopefully land decision on land donation and consideration of waiving of permitting and water and sewer connection fees. We also asked for a letter of support, which then that unlocks that funding through CMHC. And then we hope to get you out, whether that be attending our groundbreaking and home dedication events, or maybe even coming out and volunteering for a day. So we'll skip to the next one. So a little bit more detail on the model, but the main point I want to drive here is the last one, and that's reinvesting. The magic of the Habitat model is that all of those mortgage payments that the family is paying to purchase their home, every dollar of that is being reinvested in future home builds. So it's that continuous model that we will continue to invest those dollars. So we'll skip to the next slide, please. So our program to date has generated over $21 million in social benefits to communities across New Brunswick. And whether those benefits being, it's just incredible the difference it makes to families. And like I said, we see it every day with families that are currently in homes. But the difference it makes, once a family is in a stable, safe, affordable home, they're able to focus on their family that much more. They're able to focus on their children's education. For that matter, it might be their own education. It might be their own career development. The things that change, it's just incredible. So just a variety of examples there, and all of this is through research that was completed for Habitat a few years back. And the other benefit I will note is property taxes. These homes will be paying property taxes for the life of that home. So any dollars that are invested by the town will certainly be returned to you many times over through property taxes. So we'll skip to the next one. Just to highlight one of the funding tools, Habitat for Humanity Social Enterprise, the Restore. It's not here in Shediac, it's in your neighbor Moncton. We have 3 of them in New Brunswick today, but our Restores are one of our largest ongoing fundraising tools. They're also just a fantastic opportunity to keep the products out of landfill, whether that be from businesses or from individual homeowners. All of the items in our stores are donated and then sold to the public. And again, those proceeds help us to do the work that we do. And skipping on to the next. So this is a sample of one of our groundbreaking events. This one was held last year, but we do look forward to hosting a groundbreaking event for these 2 homes and hopefully more homes in the future here in Shediac. Because certainly we recognize the need is huge and we want to do more. So that is the presentation. You can jump to the last one if anyone wants my contact info. I'm just going to pass around. There's English versions and French versions there, and I'll pass them this way as well. And that's, again, just a little takeaway of our, this is what we would provide to anyone that's looking to potentially be a future homeowner. And this is the information that they would receive. So I certainly welcome any questions.
Well, thank you. And just for purposes, maybe for the folks in the crowd here tonight, this is a property on King Street that had been abandoned by the owner. The owner upped and left. The bank would not foreclose because there was an oil tank on the property that had let go. So there was some contamination. Province wasn't interested in really foreclosing on the property either. So the municipality decided to seek if we could step in and somehow facilitate something there. The province decided upon request, and we had touched base with Habitat for Humanity in terms of we'd like to get this piece of property for $1 as long as we can give it away for $1, essentially, to somebody, Habitat for Humanity. And the province remitted its, essentially wrote off whatever back taxes were owing. The town wrote off the water amount that's owing. The Sewerage Commission wrote off the sewage amount was owing. And the bank also wrote off whatever was owing on the mortgage. So this is, so you took a property that was abandoned. It was a house that was just about ready for demolition, in a sense, because it had mold inside and whatever else. So we remediated a property, and we're going to be putting the property again to good use, hopefully. So that's the backstory on that in that regard. I have a number of colleagues who have some questions, maybe. So, Councillor. Yeah, I got blank numbers here. By the way, go ahead. Emil.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Emil O'Brien.
Just a couple of questions I want to clear up. I was reading on this morning, and there's a couple of things. Like the ownership of the home, does the deed go to the people living in there? Is that, or do you keep ownership of the home?
No, we transfer title. So it's through the Habitat for Humanity mortgage.
Okay.
So we hold the mortgage. We transfer title to the family.
Okay, you hold it.
And again, one of the covenants of that mortgage is we hold right of first refusal if they were to leave for any reason.
Okay, so let's say family moves in with 4 kids. 20 years later, they're still there, and the kids have moved on, so they still get to keep the house.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. At the end of 20 years, then their relationship with Habitat ends.
Right.
If there is any additional monies owing, then they could then get a bank mortgage for whatever remaining amount, or they could sell the home. And the wonderful thing is, even if that family moves on 20 years from now, we built an affordable home. So it remains an affordable home, whether it be through the Habitat model or not.
So does the CMHC, do they subsidize the interest rates on the mortgage? Or is it whatever mortgage rate that's out there today?
So this particular home for the first 20 years, they will have it. This will be an interest-free mortgage directly with Habitat for Humanity.
Oh, okay, for the first year.
For the first 20 years.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Can't get a better rate than that.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Okay, so it's going to be low-income families, so there's going to be repairs need to be done. The roof is going to have to be done in 10, 15 years. So is that
40 years?
40 years?
We're using 45-year shingles.
There is, okay. So is that, does the onus for repairs fall on the homeowners?
Sure does.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Just
So,
like anybody. Okay.
So again, our selection process is identifying families that are ready to make that transition to home ownership. So, it's a pretty significant selection process.
Okay.
So as we put it, it's not necessarily the family that's in the most desperate need. It's the family that's most likely to succeed as a future homeowner.
Makes sense. Yeah. Just my last comment. That piece of land is a big piece of land.
It is.
And it's zoned R3, so you could build anything there. You could build, I know you're looking at building a duplex, but you could build 4, 5, or 6. It's a big piece of land.
It would be a stretch to do more than 2, especially again, through our model where it's individual ownership. If where it does have the waterway on the backside, anything more than 2 units with 2 driveways
Okay.
would be a stretch.
So that's the info you got back from the planners, right? It would be 2 was the maximum which you put on there.
Yeah, there was kind of some consideration of perhaps doing 3, but again, the ownership becomes really challenging, and making sure that we have the flexibility of that additional size for a family.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah,
Good. That's a good plan. It's good. You're doing, guys. Doing a good thing.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you. Conseiller Peterborough.
Yeah, my question is, since this project is going to be in our municipality, I would assume the family is going to be chosen will be from this municipality?
Well, if they aren't, they certainly want to live here. It's not a requirement that, at least on our side, that they are a current resident of the community, but being part of the community is a requirement. Again, there's a volunteer commitment that needs to be made, and some of those kind of things. So interesting question. One actually I haven't been asked before. So I'm pausing a little bit to think about it. But
Can you,
They have priority over people that would apply from outside?
it's rare. I'll put it this way. It's been rare that it hasn't been people from the community applying, whether that be in Moncton or Fredericton or Miramichi or Edmundston, all the various places that we've. So this really hasn't come up to date. But I recognize that where Shediac is a community where it might be a family from Moncton might be interested in moving here. So
there's still a sweat equity portion that the owner has to
100%.
put in. So this is how many hours?
500 hours.
So they need to put in 500 hours of work on site. So if they're from across the province, that's going to be kind of hard, obviously.
Yeah.
So they're going to be in the area somehow. Anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, they certainly couldn't be from, I'll say, from away.
Yeah.
But they might be from a neighboring municipality. Yeah, interesting question. One we haven't really.
So who makes the final decision?
So our family selection committee, which is a volunteer committee, ultimately makes the final decision. Initially applications go through a vetting process with one of our staff members, which includes everything from a financial review to their current living situation. And because we are looking for families that are living in a condition of need. So as an example of where they're living today, it's perfectly suitable for their family. It's safe. It's there's no concerns, and it's affordable. Then they probably wouldn't be considered. But if all too often we're seeing is where families are living, it's a combination of it's unsafe, it's unaffordable, and it's not appropriate for their family. So but yeah, again, it's a question I haven't been asked before, so I don't have a full answer to it. But if that's something that's a concern of the council, then it's certainly something that we could.
I think it has to be I mean, it's the land belongs to the town.
Absolutely, understood.
We should look after our people first, and
Understood.
if there's nobody in town that qualified, then it's fine. But I wouldn't want somebody in town to be disqualified because we're choosing somebody from the outside without even taking in consideration that they're from this area.
Understood.
Will there be some promotion of this the opportunity coming up?
Oh, yes.
So at least if the community can know,
And this,
at least they'll be able to get the word out amongst themselves, word of mouth a little bit and that sort of thing. But if nobody knows how, how are you going to get folks on that list?
We'll be looking to community groups especially community groups who support families. We'd be so the vast majority of the promotion of the fact welcoming families will be done locally. It would be on our provincial website. It would be in a few other places, but as far as promotion goes, that's all happening here, without question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Couple more. Conseiller Léon Cormier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, thank you for showing leadership on this file. We need organizations like you to make a right a wrong a right. The reason I pressed the button is I want to echo that was you would have got two questions on that you never got. I think it's important for the community for our citizens to have an opportunity. I know your process. That's okay. Do whatever you need to do. But if our citizens qualify, I would echo Councillor Bro's not preoccupation, but just I would echo saying if somebody from our community qualifies, I hope that they should be getting that really hand up chance of life. This organization is world class, and having former presidents of the United States being involved, it shows what kind of organizations you're part of, and I salute you for that. And I would hopefully even plead with you a bit that if there's somebody in need in our community, they should be on top of the pile and not on bottom of.
Well, I'll give you another reassurance. Of the 85 families we have in homes today, every one of them came from the community. That's
okay.
Yeah. So
they're in.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Conseillère Janice Cormier.
My question is, like, the application process, is it convoluted? Is it complex? Do you offer any kind of support in the application process?
I'll say yes and yes. So is it detailed? Yes. Because we require basically all of the information a bank would require for a mortgage or for a loan, but we also require those details on their current living conditions, their all of the information around their employment and their employment history. We want to make sure that they have stable earned income because that is a requirement. So yes, it's a detailed process. Yes, we do ask for a lot of information, but we also help them through that process. And we have again, I mentioned a staff member that is basically the one and only thing Natalie does is kind of working with families through that application process.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
That's good. Conseiller Joël Després.
Je vais lire la lecture.
If you want. Yes.
Qu'il soit résolu que le Conseil autorise l'administration.
Resolve that the council authorize the administration that they would transfer like the property of the PID 007-98512 42 King Street to Habitat for Humanité of New Brunswick for the amount of $1 in exchange. Habitat for Humanité in New Brunswick commits to build like a duplex of 2 units for low-income families before the end of 2024 on the said property. Be it therefore resolved that the council authorize the administration to cover the cost for permits and the connection fee for the water and sewer required by the town of Shediac and the Greater Shediac water moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Janice Cormier. Any questions on the motion? Mr. Mayor, I'm just wondering, like, I totally agree with this project, and I do not disagree with this project, but would it be appropriate? And I'm just asking the question, do you think it would be appropriate to include a condition that after, like, once we get through the selection process, that we will have an amendment to the motion saying that it should be someone from our region, like from the Greater Shediac, or do we want to go there? I know, like, we have the word from Mr. Kendall, like saying that we will do our best to do this. I'm just asking the question, like,
should we put it as a condition?
Put as a condition?
C'est une question. Regarde. La question a un bon fondement.
It's a good question. There's a good basis for it in some sense. The idea is that the town of Shediac is ready to do that donation to help its community, you know?
Ready to make that donation to help its community, you know, that's in that regards.
Oh, that's fine.
problem.
And from my point of view, if that's a condition that's made, I'm perfectly comfortable with that.
If you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. Moi, je modifierais la proposition en
I would
ajoutant
modify the motion to say that after the selection period,
une personne
it should be a person from the region of Shediac. Well, let's say the municipality of Shediac, the greater region of Shediac. So for the mover, is that a favorable mover and seconder? Is that a favorable amendment?
totally understand, but is
Just-
it gonna provide us limitation if, like, would it be possible that no one in our area would apply?
and that's okay. If nobody from our area doesn't apply, it's okay that we.
It's just, I don't want to, I don't want to create a limitation that we cannot fill those housing.
No, absolutely not. That's not my intent.
Okay.
My intent is that we should try to help our citizens first. If we can't, I'd be very surprised that we can't, but I'll let the process, and I don't want to gerrymander the process.
No.
You need to do what you need to do. It's your money. It's your investment. It's yours. It's not for us to decide your process. I agree with the process. It's just that.
No, I'm, again,
What do you mean?
completely comfortable and
All
yes,
right.
if for some reason there was no qualified applicant, then yes, we certainly would need to consider someone from outside.
Sounds good. So that's a favorable amendment. I'll consider. Councillor Murray Lloyd. Question.
Not broken. He's had 85 units and they've all been the same region. It's not broken. Let's not try and fix it. Okay? And my point to you, Councillor Cormier, is, and I understand your point, but as it was just said, it could come from outside and we could be restricting them in their professional work. That's my only point.
All right. So if the amendment could reflect that, you know, to Français, c'est privilégié to favor part of for someone from the municipality of Shediac. If not, well, you know, it's gonna help somebody, and no matter what, the person will be a citizen of Shediac at least thereafter. So on the amended motion, because it's a favorable amendment, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
A groundbreaking ceremony. Well, when we have warmer climate. Anyway.
Okay, thank you.
In the meantime, we wish you well in doing your preparations for all of that.
Thank you very much.
Merci. Donc,
So that's that point. Number 7, reading of correspondence. No correspondence tonight. And to bring to your attention, it's the holidays, right? This standing and special committees, no reports for tonight. It would be next meeting. In terms of protective services, police services, the RCMP members are not here, but you do have the report, the quarterly report for the J Division for Southeast District. It gives you some stats that are there for you. Compared to last year, the year before, etc. Many measures. And 8.2.3, fire services. A report from the fire chief, Chef Donald, tonight. The fire chief is here tonight. I always say his deputy, but the fire protection officer, is that it? That's not even that. Oh my God.
Coordinateur. Parfait.
I'll write that down somewhere. Oh, it's coordinator. I have you. Continue your great work. I know that you've been busy. And I know you're busy, and then we always know you're there. 8.3, building permit report. Just have the usual report for building permits. These are building permits for the end of the year, 2023. It's a magic number of beyond $105 million, above $105 million. I was speaking actually with the former mayor not so long ago. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, you couldn't have foreseen that figure. You couldn't have imagined it to be possible. Yes, there is one building permit that is substantial, yeah. The one for the new care center. It'll only be ready in another 2 years. But it's beyond that figure. It shows how attractive and that our incentives do work. People want to build here. You saw the press release that we published. Well, that was picked up by some media. All the municipalities do this at this time of year, at the start of the year. They give the figures for the previous year. Moncton did it, many others as well. And after, number 9, the CAO's report. Mr. Boudreau, thank you, Your Worship. From my end, I'd like to wish you a Happy New Year 2024. It's the first time that we're meeting in 2024. I will certainly resume 2023 as a transitional year for our administration. As you know, lots of changes within the team, the administrative team, and even within the unionized team. Lots of changes in the positions. For sure, 2023, it was indeed a transitional year. In 2024, we hope to be able to bring some files forward. It's going to be a very busy year once again. There are 4 positions to fill yet, but this includes new positions that were created in the 2024 budget. In reality, it's going quite well, but there are still 4 positions to fill within the staff. The team, actually, not just the staff. But that also brings about more challenges, as you already know. We talked about this during the budget process. We have a lack of space within the town hall, the space that we're occupying right now. After your decision to grant us more financing in the 2024 budget, we just finalized the lease for the 2nd floor of the municipal building, and we will start renovations quite soon, we hope. We hope to occupy it, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floor in the end, once we're done. For sure, as we speak, we don't need the 2nd floor in full. So there'll be some community spaces that could be used. Potentially, we're talking to other community organizations that might need them. We're taking that into consideration as well, to not lose the space that we have, but that we may not need immediately for administrative purposes. And between the amalgamation or the local governance reform and the record level of development in the municipality, certainly there are many files on the desks of everybody in the administration, many dozens of priority files. We had spoken about the possibility of doing a council retreat to discuss the priorities. We did a bit of a survey to find some dates that would accommodate everyone as best we could. It was finally confirmed Friday. It would be the 24th and the 25th of February. It's surprising. It was the only weekend that we offered up that accommodated everybody. There was many people who would have been missing otherwise. So we're preparing for that. At some point, we'll have to discuss the various files and the priorities to try to determine what priority trumps the other. There's only so many hours in the day and so many employees to do the work. So we certainly want to get the feedback of the municipal council to see what are the most high priority files for 2024. There's a delegation made up of representatives of the town, Chamber of Commerce in the downtown. They will go to Fredericton for the speech about the state of the province. It's a bit of an annual tradition. Will be represented in Fredericton this weekend, and also this Thursday. It's the start of the Winter Carnival. So you can find all of the details. I think this was actually getting finalized today on the website, on the Facebook page, the Experience Shediac page as well. 2 weeks of activities starting as of Thursday. So I would encourage not just council members, but the members of the public to participate in the various Winter Carnival activities. It's a great way to spend the winter it's great to be busy doing different activities. So that sums up my report for tonight. Are there any questions on the topics that I raised? On the website, there's some little maps that were sent to all the residents to let them know what was going on, and there was a little link where they can look for more details on the website and the Facebook page. Well, compared to the weeks, a couple of weeks ago, it does indeed look like winter. We're happy about that on that front. So any questions for the CAO? No questions? I'm not seeing any questions. Thank you very much. So next point, number 10, 360 Plan 360 recommendations. I'm going to make a presentation. Phil Robichaud, first of all, good evening. Zoning bylaw that was brought forward by an owner. So Mr. Robichaud will only present it tonight. It's just for information purposes and some discussion, and if there are any questions. The resolution, the motion to start the process for a public hearing, it will only be next meeting. Mr. Robichaud. Inaudible. There we are. So we have a request for rezoning to R3, 3 buildings of 12 units, and it's the request is from the applicant is Guy Cormier. I think it's working. Yeah, I can control it. So the project is on Côte Bellevue. You see the property in red. It's kind of midway. Brobridge about 300 meters away, and then up to the north, and eventually there'll be a connection to that. This is a closer view. It's a vacant piece of land, and on Bellevue, lots of large lots, vacant lots with single-family homes. This is this lot is on 2 acres, 130 meters deep. It's a lot deeper than what you've seen for R2. And to the west, you see that it's mostly medium density that's nearby. So for existing zoning, it's R2 as all the neighboring properties. And R2 allows for a maximum of 6 units. So 12 times 3 is 36 units. So the existing zoning does not allow to accept this application. So this is the localization plan. We want to do it in 3 phases, 3 separate buildings of 12 units, one behind the other. One starts with one building and one and after the other. And then the door is facing Bellevue and the parking is to the right towards Main. So these are photos of the building, 3 stories, as I mentioned, It's not flat roofed. It's a hip roof. Below the maximum height. And I said R2 allows maximum 6 units. So this project would not be allowed under R2. So the rezoning is proposed to R3, no limits on the number of units, and zone R3 is the only zone that allows several buildings on a single lot. So it could be a framework for the project so that it could work. And the bylaw as it's prepared is 1454Z. It's to rezone it to R3 that we'll be presenting tonight. So the municipal plan says that the Bellevue Borough, it's a place that's characterized by lots of vacant lots and a great spot for residential development. And it also mentioned to take advantage of the fact that it has service to allow a bit more residential density that what would you normally see in the town of Shediac or elsewhere in town of Shediac. So the plan says that it's a very favorable area for a somewhat higher density residential development that you would typically see. And there's also a connection to Bro Bridge. You'll see that's a different way to have traffic flow. It lead to the main collector of the town of Shediac, and the project it'd be 300 meters below that street. We consulted the sewer commission for Shediac. They said that it could be serviced, and that especially given that the town of Shediac will be doing work on Main Street and Bellevue Street in the near future to increase the sewer pipe size. The town of Shediac mentioned that a study on traffic will be required given the density. And there was also a mention of the fact that the water pressure seems fine, but they still have to make a test on the water flow just to make sure it doesn't need sprinklers. So the amount of water is less. Net zero drainage will be required as well. And for any development of that size that's required. And what's important is that Bellevue Street does not have any storm runoff. It's all ditches. And it makes it a bit harder to manage runoff water because the ditches are less deep than the storm drains. We have to be thoughtful about this. We don't have a drainage plan yet. But once it's ready, we'll know how we can manage it. Ideally, the water should be brought out through the ditches. Another main important point, the town of Shediac is doing an environmental impact study to make a new well for the town of Shediac on Bellevue Street, and the property is very close to that. The well is not yet registered. It's in the process of being registered. So as regards the wells, there's 3 zones around the well, A, B, C. One is stricter than the other. It says what you can do around the well. And this project is in the zone A. This is the most restrictive zone. Habitation dwellings are allowed, but there are requirements. You can't heat the building using geothermal. You can't use oil to heat the building. So you can't store any petroleum on the property. And they recommend having net zero, which town of Shediac does, and a larger potential proportion of vegetation as possible, so that the property captures as much water as possible. And it does look like this project could meet the recommendations of the Ministry of Environment, but it's mostly around oil that we have to be careful. Just so in summary, the project has some uncertainty around infrastructure, especially around drainage, but the project does seem to match up. Lots of large vacant lots, lots of potential. We've seen lots of density actually to the west, and it was medium density. So it's not a recommendation yet. It's just for information purposes to present the facts that we've received to date. And the timetable would be in 2 weeks on February 5th. The council could decide to either pursue and go to the next step of the application. And that way, on February 28th, there'd be the PRAC recommendation. The public hearing would be the 18th of March. And rezoning could be done on 15th of April, 2024. And the options for the council next week is to either ask more information, refuse the application, or proceed to the steps that I mentioned just now. And thus concludes my presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Robichaud. Any questions, Councilor Cormier? Thank you, Your Worship. Phil, you mentioned just now, well, maybe I misunderstood. Do we need a street somewhere there? Or? We'll decide if we're going to go forward later, but does it go to require some investment from the municipality to develop a street to accommodate that? In the municipal plan for the town of Shediac, it's the intention to connect Bro Bridge to Ohio Road. It's just to highlight that it's in the future plans and it gives more way to have traffic flow. I have a question, Mr. Robichaud. Given the proximity to the well that will be developed, not far from there, you were saying that in terms of permeability of the surface, it's a vacant piece of land. It's very permeable right now. What I was seeing, I'm looking at that one, yeah. There's going to be some asphalt there, clearly, for parking and other things. So they would need to do something. The asphalt is impermeable, and that it seems to be on the drawing. I'm not an expert, but it seems to take up a large part of the lot. If you have requirements, higher requirements for permeability, how is this possible? How the town of Shediac requires net zero? So before the property can be developed, there's a calculation made to see how permeable the property is, and then once it's all the pave is there and all the buildings are built, the amount of impermeability should be the same. So normally there's a basin. This is a preliminary drawing. There's a retention basin either below the parking, like tanks, or something that can retain water, and the water would then be brought towards the ditches, and then ideally it would avoid the well. You've answered my question. Thank you very much. Madam Deputy Mayor, you mentioned that it's all ditches. There's no storm runoff. When we're going to revamp that street, we're not going to close up those ditches. It doesn't go that high. It's going to stop at the intersection of Bro Bridge. Is that right? Yes. Bro Bridge towards Maine. Ah, I see. A bit higher up. I didn't quite remember that. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Robichaud. Are you staying for the second, or? That's why he brought his partner. Thank you. Hello, Mr. Boudreau. Hello, Your Worship, and members of the Council. Resolution for a cul-de-sac. I don't have a lovely presentation like Mr. Robichaud, but it's a simple file. It's a simple, one of the last phases of Domaine Bon Séjour. That development is coming to its end. It's a bit of a loop on itself. It's not a full loop. It ends up like halfway through. It's a temporary cul-de-sac, and gives a maximum of 180 meters unless it's approved by the council. So we go before you for the approval for a temporary cul-de-sac. Great, which is something that we have done in many other times and other places there as well. I remember it was lower when the development wasn't quite up to Bro Bridge. This time the recommendation is favorable from the staff, and we see no problem. And in fact, normally there'd be a temporary turnaround point at the end of the cul-de-sac. When we're in contact with Public Works, it's not necessary. The street won't even be built this year. It's just a paper approval to create the lots. And next year, I think the plans to finalize the turn. It's a short-term solution, finally. So, any questions? Otherwise, could somebody please read the resolution? Mr. Councillor Bertin, you want to read it? Whereas the Southeast Regional Services Commission recommends that the Municipal Council of Shediac accepts this request, therefore be it resolved that the cul-de-sac length shown on the Domaine Beauséjour Unit 2 Phase 6 subdivision plan be accepted. I so move. Moved by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette-Boudreau. Any questions on the motion? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Number 11, unfinished business. 11.1, the grants for sports or cultural activity. Is this CAO, Mr. CAO? I'll allow Madam the Director of Community Life. She presented at the start. Well, not at the start. Yes, at the end of the year, prior to the holidays, she spoke of a few possibilities. We had to come back with a recommendation, a more formal recommendation. So I'll ask Julie to do her recommendation. After my presentation and after having received your comments, I was advised to combine two policies that we had, two types of grants for young people. We assessed that, and we seeing what happens all around us. It was a great option for us. So by combining those two projects, we offer more grants for everyone, and we can also identify some levels. By identifying the levels, we are still in recreation. It's not just for sports, it's not just for culture, it's for any youth from 0 to the age of 18 who want to participate in a recreational activity. There's premises, local, regional, and provincial. And the source of grants for those kids to be 50 for recreation activities. If they're invited to national activities at that level, they could access a larger amount, $100.
So the combination of those two grants will help us to evaluate the project for 2024, 2025, and then to adjust accordingly in our budget by evaluating the number of participants for the funding sources. Thank you. Question for the director, so you can read. So the grant policy for sport and cultural activities, whereas the municipality of Shediac has instituted the new policy 2024-001 entitled Policy on Individual Grant for Youth, whereas the municipality is eliminated the policy 95-22, and in order to combine them to respond to a greater number of interest among young citizens, where the policy will be effective immediately so that the citizens can benefit from it, whereas the fund for the grants come from account 1-21036 youth grants and 1-21033 grants. Therefore, be it resolved that the administration evaluate and respond to each request submitted. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Germaine Galland. Questions on the motion? Councillor O'Brien. Because we added to our municipalities, would there be any promotion to tell them there are some grants available? So any communication that was given before we were able to study those grants? I will give you the same answer. We will do the promotion via social media and also a mail out to inform our community, and the mail out via like the Guide du Bon Temps or on our website. It will also be accessible on our website. And there's also a questionnaire that was prepared. And that will be posted on our website. So will you give the information to schools? Yeah, schools and organizations will receive the information. Thank you very much. I have a motion. All in favor saying 5, saying aye. Oh, I had a question there. Against it. Patricia had a question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Julie, one child, like, can they find an application for have more than one application if they practice more sports? It will be an amount of 50 amount, like per a calendar year from January to December. So, for instance, can they get like a 50 amount for like a $50 or $100? No, it's only once. If they qualify, like let's say the individuals submitted a request for $50 and does not qualify for national international activity on invitation, it's not only for participation. It has to be at the national, international, such as a Canadian or international championship. So we have to be careful with those requests, because if the individual is denied, we will identify why, and they will receive like a letter if they're denied, or if they're approved, a letter with a check. So let's say someone that individual is invited to an international championship, then he can ask like a request like for the balance would be $50, like if they got the $50. So thank you. Thanks for your question. All in favor saying 5, saying aye. Against nay. Carried. Thank you very much. Well, intro to new business, so nothing on the agenda. 13, like inquiries by members of council. So with some council members would have questions they would like to ask. Yes, Mr. Mayor. I would like to report that on March 28, 2022, after like a presentation from José Dupuis and Daniel Routier, a motion was adopted unanimously to invite Mr. Emilio, he was the instigator to prohibit like the pesticide like in Greater Tracadie, to share his knowledge like during and it was also decided like the expenses would be paid by the municipality. So I imagine like this motion was not followed, because with the new director and the amalgamation, maybe it could be a possibility like that motion was forgotten. So I would like for us to go ahead. So with these motions, I recommend that we invite Mr. Boucher to come here. For those who don't know Mr. Amédée Beaujou, like he has a lot of knowledge, and I think we should give him more than 5 minutes to explain because he will be coming from Tracadie, to give him the time like to share his knowledge and have the opportunity like to give his opinion. And I think it is the perfect timing, because we're getting closer to spring. So I would like for this motion to be put into action. Next item, Councillor Roland-Cormier. So at the meeting for November 20th, I had mentioned that our citizen would like to get like the translation. There's an English translation on our website, and there's also a French translation, but there are no like live translation with translation. So did we look at the possibility, like we're in 2024, so I would say that we would be available if we do not do this, like to do is to. Is there anyone who would like to share? Like Mr. Clerk indicated that he had a few answers. So the process started with the companies who are dealing with. So there's a question also for technology. YouTube does not allow to have one live in French, one live in English. And we're trying to find the best solution possible, to offer this service, or at least to find what we could do. It was just before Christmas, so we did the first process, and we're still waiting for some information. Perfect. Another one. Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. To go back on the same subject. I was on the committee at the time, and we did a study, and in principle, well, they were supposed to send some pamphlets to educate people concerning the pesticides. So why we should not apply pesticides, but it was never done. And I had suggested that's when the Guide du Bon Temps will come out, that we take the time to put a description, because it's here somewhere, but we never documented it or sent it to the public. And when the Guide du Bon Temps would come out, it would be a good opportunity to educate people. Thanks for the point. Seeing no one else, we'll go to item 15, motion Hall of Fame for 2024. Mr. Boudreau, you decided to declare a conflict of interest. I won't mention why. I put I nominate someone here, so and I did not participate to any selection process for this individual. But I have nothing, no personal gain. So the reason I'm leaving is just to give the authority for the council to make the decision.
Donc, est-ce qu'on voulait faire un bref rapport?
Did you want to do a quick report? What were the choices of the committee? Mr. Emile O'Brien? Because I have no names, so you have to write the right button. So I can read the one. 2024 Shediac Wall of Fame. Whereas the municipality of Shediac has initiated the Wall of Fame project at the multi-purpose center, whereas the municipality invited community groups and individuals from the community to submit the nomination for the wall of Fame, and whereas the selection committee met to evaluate the proposals submitted, whereas the selection committee is prepared to make a recommendation to council regarding the nominations, therefore be it resolved that the following person be inducted into the Shediac Wall of Fame, April 18, 2024, at the Multifunctional Center during the Community Recognition Celebration. The first one was Mr. Alain Robichaud, business category. The second one, Léon Bourque, business category. Third one, Roger Galland, sport builder category. And the last one was Raymond Nadeau, arts and culture category. I shall move. Moved by Councillor Emile O'Brien, seconded by Jean-Claude Bertin. Questions? Mrs. Deputy Mayor? I see that so it will be inducted on April 18. Will there be a celebration, or because I heard that we would have something special for the community week or in September, or I will let her answer. We will combine so it has a committee implications. So the council members had mentioned that when you met, you wanted to recognize the volunteers. It would be a celebration to recognize it. At the same time, the volunteers. So that's why we call it like a community involvement. So it's a celebration. So we combine the two. So the one for the Wall of Fame. So it will be done within the gala and the celebration. Everything is on the April 18th, so nothing in the fall, right? Thank you. In the past, it was done in the fall. So we have two people will be inducted as posthume because they passed away, and two of them are still with us. So the families and friends will be there. So it will be a nice evening, no doubt about it. So I have a motion on the table. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Against, nay. Motion carried. Thank you very much. So we'll let the Councillor Boudreau, so he can come back to his place. 15.2. So employee vacation policy. So thank you. Our CEO will do some explanation. So the next two items, with all the vacant position that we had at the administration, and the hiring process. So we noticed some of our policies, they were done many years ago, even decades, and they were not updated. So we are proposing a new employee vacation policy, and a lot of it is essentially what was in the former policy, but we will try to ensure the policy be followed. So I think over the years, since the original policy, to accumulate vacation or things like that, they were allowed, even if it was not necessarily allowed according to the existing policy. So we took the opportunity to update the policy, and we also strengthened it, and with the direction administration team, we will make sure that policy is followed and put in place by the employees. So if there are any specific questions on the policy, I can answer them, but essentially, you see, we attach the actual policy, that one was written in 1990. So it was time, it was over 30 years old, so time to update it. So Councillor Roland Cormier, question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are there any benefits that we will give our employees if that are additional to what we would have given last week? Not in this one, but the next one, there's a little bit adjustment, but essentially this one, the only thing that we focus a little bit more, so there were some provisions, a disposition in some of the policy where an employee could transfer a certain number of vacation days to the following year, but it had to be used. But the practice, for many years, some employees, so they transferred vacation, and so these are quite important accumulation of vacation days. So we had to press the reset button and put some measures in place, and not penalize them because they could do it, but just to make sure from now on, to encourage our employees to take their vacation. It's important to take the vacation to it's good for your mental health, to recharge your batteries, but there's nothing new in terms of benefits in this policy. Deputy Mayor, if you would like to read. And I have a question, but I'll read it. So the employee vacation policy, be it resolved that the municipal council adopt the modifications to policy 2024-02, holidays, floating days, and holidays for permanent non-union employees, as presented by the administration. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette Bourreau, seconded by Councillor Joël Després. And I was going to say like another name would start by G, but I see Councillor Patricia Bourg-Chevary had a question. So in the vacation policy like 1990, so we had more than vacation, so we will adjust it, or is it one thing at a time? Like, so we're taking like sections of it. So the plan is eventually like to have a policy manual. That's all I had. Councillor Patricia Bourg-Chevary. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the third paragraph, when you say like if those vacation hours are not used like prior to the second year, like the employee will lose his hours of vacation. So is it the accumulated time or the vacation accumulated while working? But you cannot lose like your vacation because you did accumulate them. The idea is a person should use like the vacation during like the within the year. So we're adding some provisions so they can transfer one for first year without too many problem, but maybe a second year like based on some special circumstances. But if by the end of the year two, like this surplus vacation that were transferred from year to year, they're lost. So I checked like with the other municipalities like around us, and essentially like they have the same policy in place. And I check also with the city of Dieppe, the town of Bouctouche, Cap-Acadie, they all have like similar policies, so they give you like a grace period. But if those are not used, like they will be lost. They will be lost, and the law says that you could lose like your vacation day that you accumulated because the employee has to pay like a certain percentage. We check like, and I have to admit it's very difficult like to have like an exact answer. But the province is doing one thing a certain way, the federal government is doing it differently. So we checked with the neighboring municipality because we wanted to be like consistent with what they were doing in other municipalities. From with all the ones I checked, after 1 year or two, like if those vacation haven't been used, they're lost. We will not penalize like employees who accumulated some before now. So these ones, we will have to follow them because they got the approval to transfer them, but from 2020, starting in 2024, we will make sure we're not in the same situation, because I thought you had to pay like those vacation. We'll just check something and then I will get back to you. And for an employee like in that situation, like that who would have like several days that he would lose, so it would encourage them to take those vacation before they lose it. It's one thing like plan your vacation accordingly, and I agree with it. Like the employee have to take their vacation, but not to pay those vacation. That's where. Thank you. So we have a motion on the table. All in favor signify saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Thank you. And next one, like employee recognition policy, Mr. CEO. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I noticed like I think we want to make sure there is no like duplication. I think we got to mix up in the numbers because the employee recognition employees like for retirement and years of service. So we came into position and a few employees like were retiring. And it wasn't clear. And I think the original policy was written in 87, so it wasn't clear like how we should proceed with this situation. So we wanted to put adjust those things accordingly. So to Councillor Cormier's question, so for the years of service, we wanted to put some amounts for the gifts for during retirement. So it might vary compared to what was there previously. And also for the years of service. And I think the question here, there were some adjustments. For each 5 years of service, we were giving 1 day, one floater day, one floater day, an extra day, for the year of the anniversary only, not for all the following years, but on the anniversary year. But other than this, well, it was just to try to put some order in a former policy, as we had other employees who are retiring, that we have a policy in place we can follow to make sure we treat all our employees fairly when they retire. Thanks for your explanation. So, would I have a council members who could read the motion? Councillor Roland Cormier. I have to find it first. You can ask your question after.
Be it resolved that the municipal council adopt the modification to policy 2024-10, employee recognition, retirement, and years of service as presented by administration. I so move, Monsieur le Maire.
So moved by Councillor Roland Cormier, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Question?
Juste la question de clarification.
Just a question of clarification. So these are unionized and non-unionized employees. So it applies all across the board. So it's important, in my opinion, it's important, to treat our unionized or non-unionized the same, we treat them the same way. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other questions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Against nay? Carried. 15.4, working alone policy. Not to place solidaire, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, no, so this is a new policy that did not exist before, and it was a recommendation from WorkSafe NB, WorkSafe NB, and they encourage all the employees to have a policy in place, and it's simply so that an employee would have to work in offices outside the hours of work, so they have a mechanism in place to make sure it's similar to a buddy system. There's always someone else from the organization who knows when an employee is working during evenings or weekends at the office, who is working alone. So it describes a little bit the process to follow, and it very well according to the departments, because we have different circumstances, the public works and recreation, for our unionized employee, so they can call that numbers dedicated to emergencies outside the usual work for administration. It's according to the work teams and their supervisors within the work team. It's a new policy. It's just to make sure we have a safe space, and the employees who have to work outside the usual hours of work, they are comfortable. Perfect. Councillor Janice Cormier. if you would like to read it. Be it resolved that the Municipal Council adopt the modifications to Policy 2024-03, working alone as presented by the administration. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Janice Cormier, seconded by Councillor Germaine Galland. Questions on the motion? Councillor Joël Després. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to mention, like, there is a mistake. It's the last item in French. You should always have your phone on you. Or... Yeah, it wasn't written properly in French. So thank you. All in favor, saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Next item, land title search. This is a motion by Patricia Bourg-Chevary. Whereas the Friends of Riverside Park have forwarded to the Municipal Council a notice from their lawyer Robert Basque indicated that the town of Shediac may be the owner of the parcel of land identified by PID 706686603. Therefore, be it resolved that the Shediac Municipal Council mandate the municipal administration to engage legal services to conduct a title search of the land in question identified by PID 70668603. Be it further resolved that all information gathered during this search be presented to the Municipal Council. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Bourg-Chevary, seconded by Councillor Roland Cormier. Questions on the motion? It's a subject we're very familiar with. All in favor, saying aye. Patricia, did you have a question? It wasn't a question like I work with the clerk on this motion, and I just wanted to, it was clear, like it's the land, like it belonged to and was transferred or remade with the town, like all the process, like from top to bottom, like it's a legal search, like done historically. So the Crown grant, like we will go up to there. So all the transfer by the Crown, and so that's what you wanted to mention? Just to make sure with the last motion that was brought also, I think was November or beginning of December, like for the Rotary Park Committee. So I just wanted for it to be clear. So it's only to do the land titles. So, and to make sure, like the results be presented to the Municipal Council. So once they're done. So, question, I will start. I have to make, all in favor, saying aye. Against, nay. Carried. Thank you.
Deuxième résolution,
second resolution by a council member, meeting of the council meetings, distribution of documents. This is Councillor Harry McElroy.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that whereas it is fundamental for effective, responsible representation by members of council that they be fully informed of agenda items and associated reports well in advance of a public council meeting, and whereas transparent and open governance requires that residents and the public generally be informed in advance of the content of agenda items of a public council meeting, and whereas the Council of the Town of Shediac requires timely provision of all public council meeting information and is committed to transparency and open government in the conduct of the governance of the town, therefore be it resolved that the complete agenda and associated reports and recommendations be provided to council members on the Friday prior to a public council meeting scheduled for Monday. So move.
So moved by Councillor McElroy, seconded by Councillor Janice Cormier. Question, Councillor Cormier.
There's nothing there that says vice versa, like for us to, like, if we need to bring something to the meeting, I think that as counselors, we should present or provide our information in due time to
Staff.
right? So it doesn't say that there, but is it imposed in it or?
The procedural bylaw already sets out that information wished to be provided from a councillor to rest of council for a meeting must be provided by the Thursday before the meeting. So that's there as well. No, you wanted to answer that? Okay, good. Anyway, so. And then, and then even from somebody who's presenting to council, you know, a member of the public or a consultant of some sort, sometimes they're a little short on time, but anyway, especially when you're trying to get the translated version, that's happened before, but it is a provision in the procedural bylaw. Question, Conseiller Roland Cormier. Question.
I certainly have no issues with the resolution area. That makes sense to me. But what happens on Saturday if somebody figures out there's something that needs to be submitted, an emergency resolution or something like that? Does the bylaws permits somewheres that by majority vote or by unanimous vote that
yes,
something does? Okay, fine.
Yes, when council adopts its agenda, it may add an item by unanimous vote. Typically would be for something that can't wait, you know, I mean, and if that didn't happen, well, we can always schedule a special meeting that, you know, if something needs to be decided by a certain time, you know, that doesn't have to be on a Monday, but anyway. Madame la maire suivante, Madame Deputy Mayor.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Encore là, je suis d'accord avec ce qui est dit.
Once again, I'm in agreement with what's being said. It might say this in our code of ethics, with information other than the agenda that is published, that the information that is provided to us, that is all confidential until the time that the meeting is held. If it's in our folder, I think this is important. I see what you're saying. I don't think it's written in the procedural bylaw. If it's not confidential, that's one thing. When I look at my documents on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, when I read them in advance, it's not something that I will share until the fact that the meeting has taken place. Yeah, typically, it's not a written rule. We've sought clarification with our legal counsel. They'll come back to us. We haven't received that yet. No. This is to get the information.
So on the motion
before
us, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. 15.7. We're heading there. Linguistic Landscape, Remax Quality Real Estate Incorporated. Maybe Mr. CAO could explain the background just quickly in the absence of our Economic Development Director. Once again, the members of the council have seen many of these. According to the Linguistic Landscape Policy, it was adopted by the committee of the council and recommended to the council. Here, it's the Remax company that had applied and is eligible for a contribution of $626.88. That includes HST. It requires a council resolution. Councillor Germain Galland. Thank you, Your Worship. Be it resolved that the town of Shediac provide reimbursement to the following merchant, that the funds used for said reimbursement to be taken from the Linguistic Landscape Budget Account 1-26425. It's $545.20 plus HST. I so move. Moved by Councillor Germain Galland, seconded by Emile O'Brien. Are there any questions on the motion? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Well, there's 4 notices for motion. It is to advise the council that a council member has the intention to present a motion at the next meeting. Council a member can present their notice and give some explanations. No debate, though. The debate will happen during when the motion is presented for the first meeting. Alors,
Turn on.
Thank you, Mayor. Take notice that at the February 5th, 2024 meeting of Shediac Town Council, I intend to move the following motion. Whereas the community of Pointe-du-Chien, home of Parley Beach and Pointe-du-Chien Wharf, major economic generators for the town of Shediac and the province of New Brunswick, was amalgamated to the town of Shediac in January 2023 as Ward 2 Shediac. And whereas the private roads in Pointe-du-Chien have historically, for several decades, received some semblance of road maintenance from the New Brunswick government, currently the New Brunswick Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, and whereas the maintenance services currently provided by NBDTI are inconsistent and inadequate, whereas the residents of Pointe-du-Chien overwhelmingly support that its town council seek a remedy to the current unacceptable road maintenance situation in Ward 2, therefore be it resolved that council authorize the mayor and staff of the town of Shediac to investigate, evaluate, and report back to council on financial and other related issues associated with having the provision of basic road maintenance in Pointe-du-Chien assumed by the town of Shediac. I so move. Oh, I don't move.
You don't move yet. You state. Anyway, that's what we're doing. So that's a notice of motion for the rest of council. We all know what that situation is about. These private roads in Pointe-du-Chien. Prochaine avis de motion pour évaluer les programmes.
Next notice of motion to assess the incentives. I intend to present a motion mandating the Economic Development Committee to evaluate and study policies 12-09 and 13-06. Motion, whereas the policy 12-09 and 13-06 were last studied June 24, 2019, whereas there was a municipal reform in 2023, whereas the town of Shediac is recording a historical increase of building permits in the past years. Be it resolved, the council mandates the Economic Development Committee and staff to look at policy 12-09 and 13-06 to evaluate the validity of these policies, modify them if needed, and report back to council before the 2024 construction season so that citizens of the town are aware of the changes. Thank you, Councillor Cormier. I would add that staff is working on that as such. It will come. I'm not allowing any questions for notice of motion. Write it down for next week. So, in terms of motion, notice of motion, it's still against Councillor Cormier. It is my intention to introduce a motion to create an environmental committee that will make recommendations to the municipal town council on all environmental issues, such as pesticide use. Motion, whereas a committee of citizens made a presentation to council in November 2023 asking the town of Shediac to implement a bylaw to regulate pesticide usage on lawns, whereas in 2002 the town of Shediac had implemented a bylaw regulating the usage of pesticides, but that bylaw was revoked when the government of New Brunswick implemented a provincial law in 2009. Be it resolved that council create an environmental committee to make recommendations to council to consider implementing a new bylaw for regulating the use of pesticides on lawns in the town of Shediac and report back before June 1st, 2024. Thank you, Councillor Cormier. And last,
Notice of motion for sidewalks in Shediac Cape. Councillor Murray Lloyd.
I intend to present a motion that will mandate the administration of the town of Shediac to look into the feasibility of installing sidewalks on one side of Route 134 in the Shediac Cape sector. These sidewalks would extend from the old boundary between Shediac Cape to the Shediac Cape School at this time.
Thank you, Councillor Lloyd. No, someone on you. Oh, point.
So it's item 16, nomination appointments to committees. There are none for tonight. I now simply need a motion for adjournment. Moved by Councillor Germaine Cormier. Thank you very much. If the members of the council can stay for 2 minutes after, just a little selection we want to do. I'll talk to you about it. Just before we leave,